All right, we are live today again. This is the Global Empowerment Team, and I just want to thank you all again for making the time to join us. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, catch us on all the different formats, different social media formats. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Again, make sure that you're coming here to YouTube to catch us twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays. We're back at you, providing you with a wealth of value and a wealth of information to catapult you into creating generational wealth, talking about mindset, talking about tools to get you to where you want to get to as far as accomplishing your goals. So with that said, we want to thank you again, this Global Empowerment Team. And I want to introduce my co-host, my brother, my counterpart, Mr. Khalil Macklin. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Beautiful introduction. Happy New Year still. I'm excited about our conversation, our topic. I'm always excited to get together with my brother and bring, like I said, this level of knowledge that we can continue to bring to our community, to our network, and just continue to grow our network. So please, if you like the information that we bring you, as Benny said, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, because those are the things that are going to continue to drive us to continue to bring you more of this content that we have stored up for you guys. So it's Sunday, man. It's playoff football. Watched some playoffs yesterday, watching playoffs today. Just kicking back, getting my mindset right for the upcoming week, man. How are you doing?
Man, doing good, doing good. I didn't get a chance to catch any games today. Been cleaning up around the house, taking care of a few things around here, and like you said, getting ready for the week, and getting ready for this show. So I might catch some a little bit of the late game after this, and be ready for the week. And man, just get it started. Get it started.
I'm a sports man, dude. I got sports on at the man cave in the front room in here, to where if I'm doing my cleanup or whatever it is, I still have the game. You hearing it? It's within a shouting distance. If I'm going outside, I put it on my phone. I grew up loving sports, man, and I still love sports to this day. So for me,
Right.
a day full of sports is like a day at Disneyland for a kid. I'm like, oh yeah, I get to go from one game to another to another. The nightcap is the hoop game. It's perfect. So
There you go.
kind of
There you go.
situation I'm in right now.
Yeah, my 5-year-old, he dictates what we watching on TV. I
Oh
sneak
yeah,
away and try to watch something else, man. He's like, Daddy, you got to come watch this with me.
oh yeah.
So, yeah, so I get him in there when I can.
I'm
But
still in that situation. My son over here running Fortnite and Mario Kart. You like, man, you got the 60-inch TV hogged up all to yourself, doing whatever you want. You
right,
relegate me somewhere else now. So, and I don't
right,
have a TV in my room. You don't do TVs in rooms. Rooms are meant for sleeping and reading, meditating, stuff like that. So the TV, once he take the TV in the big room, I'm relegated now to the man cave. So
right.
consequently, though, I have three TVs in my man cave, because it's for office purposes, it's for my relaxation purposes, and it's my gym all in one. So sometimes I may have sports going here with the stock ticker going here. You know what I mean? To where I can
Okay.
stay in touch with different things and different performances. Now I got the news going on, but over here without any kind of sound,
Hmm.
I'm keeping track of some type of stocks that they got going on or something on MSNBC. So
Very nice, very nice. So we're gonna actually that's a hot topic right now. Well, not even right now. That's always a hot topic. The stock market.
yeah,
Um, that's one of the shows we're gonna have coming up soon. So again, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button and hit the comment button. Let us know what kind of topics you want to talk about, what questions you have. Because we have, I mean, between Khalil and I, we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of people in our network that we could reach out to. So that is going to be one of the shows coming up. We're going to have somebody on here to talk about the importance of stocks, and then how to invest, who to reach out to, what type of opportunities you can create for yourself within the stock market,
exactly.
what the different terms mean. So that's going to be a show that's coming up, and we'll definitely let you know when that comes up. But today we're talking about insurance. Now we've had this topic before. We've I mean, if you follow us and have listened to a number of our shows, we've always talked about the importance of insurance. However, today we're going to break that down. We're going to break it down to the steps of, okay, I have the mindset of, well, I want to get some type of insurance. I need to have some type of insurance. I'm going to be reaching out to somebody. I'm going to be reaching out to Khalil Macklin. I want to go ahead and set this up for me and my family. So we're going to break down what those steps look like from A to Z, signing up, and to how to keep track of that moving forward and how to grow that moving forward as well. So, Khalil, you're in the hot seat today.
Man.
So I'm Joe Smo. I don't have insurance. I keep hearing about how important it is to have insurance. I watched a couple of your shows, and man, all you do is rant and rave about insurance. So what do I do, man? I'm calling you, man. Put me on, man. Let me know. What do I need to do?
Well, I try not to rant and rave too much. No. But yeah, look, man, I appreciate our platform and what we try to do. Always talk about the pillars of wealth. And the pillars of wealth, honestly, are, you alluded to it. You started off perfectly. Stocks and bonds, what you do, real estate, and then you got your insurance. If you do the proper investments, which should consist of stocks and bonds, you should learn about things like cryptocurrency. You should learn about things like precious metal. I bought some silver a while back. Silver is at $27 an ounce right now. And I bought it was like $12, $13 an ounce, which doesn't seem like much. But you buy the right amount of silver, you just doubled your money. You know what I mean?
Money. Even if you started with $1, you doubled your money.
You doubled your money, exactly. So, right. And then you got your real estate, which Benny and I always talk about 50, 60% of your portfolio should consist of real estate. Mm-hmm. Then you start diversifying between your investments and your life insurance. And I always do these calculations. What you should be putting away towards a retirement package based upon your age. If I'm 20 years old, 20% of my income should be conservative. 20% of my investment, should be conservative. 80% of my investment should be aggressive. As you mature in age, 30 years old, I should be 30% conservative, 70% aggressive. Mm-hmm. But that means even when I'm 90 years old, I should still be 10% aggressive, 90% conservative. You never get out the stage where you should be 100% conservative or aggressive. Because even when I'm 10 years old, I should be 90% aggressive, 10% conservative. Mm-hmm. But I'm just trying to drop a little bit of background on where I'm going with insurance, because certain people look at insurance differently. Mm-hmm. In certain communities, they look at it differently. There's articles out there from Wall Street Journal where they talk about life insurance being the rich man's Roth IRA. Right. Because once you really start learning life insurance and the tax implications and the saving implications and the return on investments and the interest that it grows, you start realizing, okay, when you really start knowing money and how things are taxed and the different tax bracket that certain investments put you in, whether it's real estate, stocks and bonds, capital gains coming from both of those, whether it's Roth IRAs instead of a traditional IRA, all these things mean different tax codes. Mm-hmm. And then you got life insurance nestled up in there. That's one of the pillars of wealth. So the first thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to what's the process, and it's a simple process, honestly, is just first and foremost wrapping your head around the fact that we all need some type of protection. And I'm going to go through why you would need certain types of protection in place, but we all need certain types of protection. When you if you rent, they make you get renter's insurance. If you buy a home, they make you get mortgage insurance or homeowner's insurance. It's certain protections they're going to put in place already, because if you're renting from me, I'm going to protect my interest. Mm-hmm. If you mess my home up, that home is going to be protected. So you're getting some renter's insurance. That's just how it's going to go. Right. If you drive in a car, you're going to have to get car insurance, because if you get in a car accident, you're going to be held liable for that. Mm-hmm. But the one thing people look over is the one most important thing, I think, is the life insurance. And we get it through our jobs and different things like that. But the first step is understanding life insurance and what kinds of life insurance there are. That's the first step. Mm-hmm. And simplifying it for yourself. There's two types of life insurance. You got whole life and you got term. Whole life says it in the name. It's going to last your whole life. And Benny can tell you the way I customize it is, I'm going to have you only paying for it while you're working. I'm not going to have it paying for it when you're 70 years old. That's why a lot of people lose their insurance when they're 70 is it's just too expensive and they're not working anymore. Right. Have you an insurance agent when you have the conversation where they educate you, there's two types of life insurance. Whole life is going to last me my whole life. Term life is going to last me for a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. Just like the president is the president for a term. Whatever a term, that means it's going, at some point it's going to end. Going to end, yep. You've got to either renew it, which means you got to run for president again, or you let it lapse and you're not the president anymore, but it's only going to last for a term. Now, you also have what people call universal life insurance, but it's a whole life. Mm-hmm. They call it something different because it performs a little bit differently, because it's kind of contingent upon certain market fluctuations. Although it's not market-based, it's still indexed based upon the market and its mm-hmm. performance. So it's still, though, whole life or term. So that's the first thing you got to figure out is, what do I want? Do I want something that's going to last me for a longer period of time? Or do I want something that's going to last me for my whole life? What am I trying to accomplish here? And I'll get back to the whole life in the term as we go through the different things, because you want to start calculating how much coverage you need.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, Benny, before we started this show, little Benny came in, and you see my child walking by right now. So Benny and I have kids that are young. They're under 10 years old. So there's a certain amount of responsibility I still have to these kids in their maturation. Until my kids are at least 18 or 21, whatever idea I have in my head, I want to make sure if something happens to me, I can still fund their school, their dreams, their business ideas, their college, whatever it is. Those things still need to come to fruition, even if I meet an early demise. So I want to make sure that I start understanding what I want to cover. If I've got a mortgage of $300,000 and that mortgage is going to be paid off in 20 years, I know that I at least need $300,000 worth of coverage for 20 years. So maybe a $300,000 20-year term is a good coverage to get just to cover the mortgage. You know what I mean? So you start figuring, what kind of coverage do I have? Or am I going to cover, if I'm making $100,000 and I got 10 more years of raising these kids, that's at least $1 million worth of coverage is how I look at it. Because if something happens to me tomorrow and I bring in $100,000 for 10 years, my kids are going to miss 100,000 times 10 years. So you start doing that type of calculation. Do I have student debt that's going to be passed to my spouse? Because believe it or not, student debt, once you say I do, that can be passed now to your spouse. Certain credit card debt. It's certain things that you want to take into consideration and say, what are my liabilities? What are some of these things that I have in certain places? And then you minus that by assets that you have. Maybe you got some current life insurance. So maybe you don't need $300,000 for the mortgage because you already got a $150,000 policy. Maybe your job gives you coverage, and that's $50,000 they give you, which isn't much. And it's
that's another conversation too with the job insurance, because I want you to clarify that when I'm gonna get to that question. It's one of my questions. Okay. About what that looks like, and getting clarity on what the job insurance entails or benefits versus setting it up on your own versus sitting down with you and going over this conversation.
Exactly. And while we're there, I can explain it really quickly, because a lot of people, that's one of the things I hear is people say, well, I have coverage through my job. And I tell them, congratulations. Anytime, look, you can tell me you got $5,000 worth of coverage. I'm happy for you, because that's more than a lot of people actually have. So if you got coverage through your job, kudos, congratulations. But as Benny said, understand the parameters and barometers around it, because you've got two types of group coverage, basically. You got occupational and non-occupational. Meaning one of them will cover you while you're on the job and on the job only. That's the most jobs cover you while you if they're going to give you life insurance and you work at Starbucks and something happens to happen to Starbucks and you get killed, they're going to cover you for the life insurance they give you because you died on the job. Okay. But then most jobs cover you for when you're not, or they don't cover you for when you're not on the job. Meaning if Benny and I decide to go to Tahoe and Benny and I get in a snowboarding accident or something like that, and we don't come home, if the job doesn't cover you outside of that 9 to 5, that life insurance is obsolete at that point in time. You can call the job all you want. You can contest it and dispute it all you want. But if they don't cover you as soon as you step off the job, even if you're driving home, you're not on the clock anymore. You are driving home. I don't know if you stopped and had a bottle of alcohol at the bar before you got back on the freeway. We are not liable for that at that point in time. So find out, which one do I have? Are you covering me wherever I go, no matter what, or are you only covering me when I'm doing your job for you? That's number one. Number two, your group coverage will 99.9% of the time terminate unless they have portability to it. Meaning, you work at a company for 15 years, you put your hard time in, you may get retirement benefits. They may allow you to purchase COBRA coverage. They may allow you certain things. But that life insurance, if you want to take that life insurance on your own and now you're 55, 65, 70 years old, you have to pay what a 55, 65, 70-year-old would pay for individual life insurance at that point. You're not covered through the group anymore. They drop that group coverage. Now, they will give you 30 to 60 days to continue that group coverage, but it's going to cost you. When I left Kaiser, I could have kept my coverage, but it's going to cost me $1,100 a month for something that was costing me $8 a paycheck. because I'm not through the group anymore. And I had
Right.
$750,000 worth of group coverage. But when you got thousands of employees paying $8 a month for coverage that only covers you when you're on the job, and really people not dying on the job like that, the company just making money hand over fist. They can afford now to pay $750 if something happened.
Right.
But when you leave, you're not covered through the group anymore. Now you Khalil Macklin, and you want $750,000 worth of life insurance, and you now 38 years old. That's going to cost you $1,100 a month, buddy. So that's what you need to understand about group coverage. Keep your group coverage. I tell everybody, I have group coverage. If you giving it to me for $3 a month and my kids as well, we taking all the group coverage you have. But the group coverage does not then make my individual planning obsolete. And that's what people need to realize is,
Right.
I may have a 401k, but what am I doing to plan for my own retirement? I may have life insurance through my group, but what am I doing to plan for my own life insurance? Because at some point I'm not going to want to work 9 to 5, which means certain benefits I may end up losing. And I need to have some of these things prepared on my own.
Right. Right.
So
Yes, and that doesn't even speak to the age factor where the 401ks, they have you start drawing funds from the 401k at a certain age. If you're still working, it doesn't allocate for the fees involved. There are a lot of fees involved in the 401k when you start to cash that out.
Yep.
There are tax ramifications. So getting clarity on that 401k, which unfortunately a lot of people only utilize their 401k for retirement. And like Khalil says all the time, if they're going to give you free money, take it. But just understand, that shouldn't be the only bucket you have filled for your retirement.
Exactly. And the reason why 401ks got popular, honestly, was back with Reaganomics during the 80s, taxes were at a certain point to where you only got about 30% of your income, which means if I made $100,000, I was only bringing home $30,000. The government was keeping legally $70,000.
It's a higher tax bracket.
So 401ks became popular because if I put money in a 401k, it brought my taxable income down. Let's say I put $20,000 in a 401k, my taxable income is now 80. Well, the tax bracket for 80,000 is 50% instead of 70%, which means now I bring home 40,000. I actually bring home more money. Now, 40,000 is more than 30 off the top. Plus, I kept 20 for later on. So now that means I kept 60 instead of 30. So I doubled my money. So 401ks became extremely popular because taxes were so high.
Right. It was a tax shelter for, mostly it was taking advantage of it at that time were CEOs, corporations.
Because back then they were the people making 100,000 plus. Exactly.
Right.
And they're the ones who understand money and taxes. They got CPAs. People from our communities making $20,000, $30,000. We don't have CPAs. We do our taxes at H&R Block or wherever we can get them done for free through tax, whatever it is, quick TurboTax. And we cutting corners to where we're not understanding some of these things. So fast forward, taxes recently have been the lowest they've ever been. So investing in a 401k only is outdated because what I'm saying now, if taxes are now 22% on average, and I tell you, no, I don't want to pay that 22% tax. And you're not taxing me now, but taxes are going to go up. As you ask any economics professional, any economist, they'll tell you that taxes are going to go up. So what you're saying is when I'm 65 years old and I'm about to retire and I need the money most and taxes may be 50, 60% again, I'll take that chance and let you take half my money as opposed to right now. Let you take the 20% and knowing you can't take any more money afterwards because you've already taken your 20% portion.
Right.
So you got to understand these things. But a 401k, you should put money in a 401k. It's just not the end all be all. You should understand if your job offers a Roth 401k. You should understand real estate. You should understand cryptocurrency. You should have a brokerage account where you buy stocks and bonds. Do it for your kids when they're young. $50 a month, you'd be surprised what that does for your kids by the time they're 30, 40 years old, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars they'll have put away. But once again, life insurance, because what it's going to protect is Benny's got a goal. Benny's goal is in the next 5, 10 years, let's say, Benny wants to own 3 homes, 2 rental properties, a vacation property. And this is just me throwing stuff out there. He wants to have $10 million in assets, and he wants to have $2 million in reserve. What all these different components, right? Well, that's a goal of Benny's because he may not be there just yet. So if Benny's trying to get there to provide a certain lifestyle, because maybe he wants more children, maybe he got growth plans for his family, his business, all these different things, he got to fund it. Maybe Benny's like, you know what? If something happens to me, this dream I have, I still want my wife and little Benny to see that through, which means I may need to have at least $5 million worth of life insurance in place because of the different types of things I've got in place, the different assets I have in place, the different pieces I have moving. So it's important, once again, to figure out what are your expenses? What are your outstanding debts? What are your current assets? Do an actual budget analysis. Figure out what do you really need in this whole thing? What am I protecting against? What's my why? What's important? That'll dictate to you, okay, they got calculators for it as well, but it come out and tell you. Most people I sit down with, I tell them, well, you know, keeping it real, just on income alone, you need $2 million worth of coverage. And like, $2 million? Mm-hmm. Well, you make $80,000 a year and you're 27 years old. You're about to work for another 30 years. And making $80,000 a year times 30 years is $2.4 million. That's just simple math. Right. That's what you plan on bringing into your family with no raises. So you tell me, if something happens to you tomorrow, are you okay with not supplementing $2.4 million for your 3-month-old child that you have? Because if you okay with that, I'm okay with that. But you really shouldn't be okay with that. And that's where the life insurance comes in, which leads you to the next thing is you start picking the length of the policy, which takes you back to point number 1. Is it whole life or term? And I'll tell you, term is inexpensive. Term is the number 1 choice to go with because I can get you $1 million term for $100 depending on your age. Mm-hmm. For less than your car insurance, if something happens to you, your family will benefit from $1 million, which means they can put you at rest. College is still foreseeable, paying off debts, being homeowners, being business owners. That $1 million starts to plant a whole lot of seeds at that point in time. And if we do it right with the education component, then they know to invest that $1 million into things that will really grow that seed, just like the biblical verse says. So you got to pick the length of your policy. If you got 10 more years left on your mortgage, maybe we don't need a whole policy. Let's get a 10-year policy. Let's cover that mortgage. Something happens, that mortgage paid off. Right. You got college is something you're looking at doing, and you're looking at another vehicle to help pay for college, but you don't know if the kids are going to college. So a 529 is a great option, but it locks your kids into going to college. If they don't go to college, you lose the growth in that money plus the tax benefit. So you're like, you know what? If I can get the same tax benefit and utilize the money for college, maybe I get a whole life policy for the kids, and I put money into the whole life policy for the next 15 years, and I have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to help with a couple of semesters of college while they figure that whole thing out. But if they don't go to college, maybe I can help them fund their first business or their first home. So you start to really identify, once again, what are we trying to accomplish? What your goals are, right? What are the goals? Because that's going to help me determine your term of your policy. Mm-hmm. I never put somebody in a policy you're going to pay till 100, ever. I'll never do that in my life. I'm going to get you. So first step is, right. So first step, like you said, is mindset. Second step is your goals. Yep. Because without clarity on what your goals are, then the conversation with you is kind of like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I need to figure this out. Like I can't answer these questions if I don't have clarity on exactly what I need this insurance for. Exactly. So obviously this in the benefit of this call right now, this conversation right now is understanding the ramifications of insurance, how many different aspects of your life insurance can actually help you in. Yep. But you're right though. And that's why I ask questions though. Like everybody's here, but you're trying to get here. Right. And I'm watching football. Even if it's 4th and 1, you got 1 yard in which you're trying to get somewhere. How do we bridge the gap? Oh, right. Their insurance policy is they got 5 linemen that are 6'5", 300 pounds guarding that line to help this guy get across that 1 yard line. You know what I mean? That's their insurance policy, but they're trying to bridge the gap to get here to here. So my questions are, where are you at right now? And what are you trying to accomplish? What are you currently doing to invest money? Like, what are your number 1 strategies to invest money? What's a big enough pot for you when you retire? What's a good retirement age and what's a good enough pot? Like, let's really get the wheels turning. Because you know how many people I talk to, like, I want to retire at 55, but they 34. So that means you got 21 years to build your retirement portfolio. Okay.
Right.
Like, let's really put it in perspective. You can retire at 55, but you got 21 years, which means you got no time to waste. Because if you're going to live till you're 85, that means you got 30 years to live off money that you saved for 21 years.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be diligent.
Right.
And when I start telling somebody that, that means at 30 years old, you're making this amount of money. There's calculators that tell us exactly what you should be saving. And based on those calculators, they tell me what you should be putting in your 401k, what you should be putting in a brokerage, what you should be putting in real estate, what you should be putting in a CD account, what you should be putting in the life insurance. It'll break everything down. The problem is when I tell somebody at 34, you're making $100,000. And if you truly want to retire at 21 years, you should be putting away $28,000. They scoff at that because it's kind of unrealistic to them to put that kind of money away.
Right.
Which I get it, which is why the earlier things like what you and I have done, getting insurance for our kids, getting brokerage accounts for our kids, getting bank accounts for our kids, getting credit cards, whether authorized, unauthorized users, authorized users, doesn't matter, and building a credit score for our kids. It's important doing that young, because now the $75 I put away for each of my kids is going to do a whole lot more from 3 years old to 50 years old than it would from 30 to 50. So that's, you gotta really recalibrate and figure out, what am I trying to accomplish? Am I currently doing things right now to retire at 55? Because if not, I got to put myself in gear. Am I currently, if something happened to me tomorrow, what does it look? You tell me. I want to know what tomorrow looks like if you die. And I've asked that. What does it look like tomorrow for your family? Who's your wife calling? Is she calling a job for the life insurance? Who's she calling? Well, we don't have life insurance right now. Okay, so what's the next day look like? Are they calling friends to do a GoFundMe? Like, let's really walk through this, because it's a scary ass sight for you to walk through what the next day looks like if you're not prepared for that next day to be here, for your family, for your wife to have to figure this thing out, for your kids to have to pick this whole thing up.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about right now, it puts me in mind of that quote, what you measure improves, right? What you focus on improves. And like, listening to you, if you don't have that realization of what that day is going to look like, because it's coming for all of us, what the steps are going to be, having clarity on your budget, having clarity on how understanding what your budget is, understanding what your net to debt ratios are, can give you clarity on how you can invest that money and how you can improve your financial status. So that just really puts, that quote in focus, as and going back to what we talked about before, the wheels, the spokes of the wheel, focusing on what your goals are in life, focusing on where you want your families to be, and focusing in on what that day is going to look like when, unfortunately, you may not be coming back home. Exactly.
But really focus, like you said, focus in on it. And the reason why you hear me mention all these other strategies is because I'm not your normal life insurance agent. Normal life insurance agents, I've seen this. This is what they teach you. Go in and tell them, if you put money in your 401k, put it in life insurance. If you put money here, it's a lot of people like that. I've sat down with real estate agents who say they don't believe in nothing but real estate. That's it. I believe in diversification. I'll be doing you an injustice to sit down with you and not share the vast knowledge I've gained from being a retirement specialist for now 18 plus years. So for me, it consists of a lot of different things. It's just the one component that's missing from a lot of people's planning strategies and portfolio is just simple life insurance. They think it's so hard. It's not. Once again, the first step is really understand what life is. There's two types, whole life and term. What's the best for you? And that's where things like cost analysis, calculating what your debts versus your assets are, liabilities, assets, stuff like that, figuring that out, doing a real budget analysis. A lot of people tell you they got a $50 budget in that budget. And when you figure it out, no, really, you got about $189 access every single week, let alone per month. But it's what you do with that $189 that you think is doing you some good that really has no return on its value. So really putting that GPS on, like we say, but understanding what's important to me. What are my core values? I hear people say all the time, well, none was left to me. I don't want to leave nothing to my kids. Well, they not important to you, apparently. I mean, I can't really, I'm not even trying to tap into that frame of mind. If that's your frame of mind, honestly, I can introduce you to Benny, who's a lifestyle coach, to maybe help you out with recalibrating that form of mind. But I've heard it all, bro. My point, though, is calculate your budget. Calculate the things you're trying to protect against. If you have a mortgage, if you have credit card debt, if you have student loans, if you have a business, any of these things that can be transferred over. If you have, like I said, dreams, goals, and aspirations that, as Benny and I have kids that are under 10, for me, I see it as though I should have insurance and plan for that dream. Because if I'm not here, I want to make sure that the trips I take my kids on, the things I do for them, the amenities that they're allowed, that they're grown accustomed to, are still going to be things that are accessible. And that's what an insurance policy does for me, as well as some of the other things I'm doing, the 401ks, the Roths, all these different things. So like I said, pick the term, the length of your policy. Now, where the difference with whole life and term comes in is whole life builds cash. Whole life is an asset in its own. That's why they call it the rich man's Roth IRA. Because once you really start knowing investments, once again, the maximum I can put into my 401k per year is $19,000. The maximum I can put into a Roth is $6,000. So if you combine the two of that, that's $25,000. Now there's some people like I average about between $25,000 to $35,000 investments per year. So in a good year for me, when I'm going over the 25, I have no option to put money in now my 401k, or my Roth, because I've maximized.
It's already maxed out. Yeah.
That's where now you've got to be educated about the different options to know you can buy silver. You can open a brokerage account to where you buy ETFs, stocks and bonds, mutual funds. You can buy shares of Tesla if you can't afford the $746 for one share, which most people can't. If you know the right avenue, Robinhood, things of that nature. But you start finding out, put your money there. I educate you about all that. Life insurance is just the thing that protects it all. It's the bow on top. It's something that gives you a non-tax vehicle. Because what's going to happen is, I see it all the time. You get to retirement and you got $750,000 and it's all taxable.
Yeah.
Your home is worth $400,000. You got a 401k worth $350,000. But the moment you sell that home, Benny will tell you, you got to pay taxes on it. They're not just going to let you run away with the money you made without paying some kind of tax on it. So it's not a full $400,000. That $350 in a 401k, every time you pull money out of that 401k, Uncle Sam's taking his portion before you get your portion. You have no say-so in it. So they're going to take that money. So $750 really is about $500, $525, depending, maybe less.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
probably looking at maybe about 50% of that going.
But to know, okay, oh man, I sat down with Benny and Khalil and the Global Empowerment Team, and they told me about this thing called a Roth, which means it's an after-tax vehicle. So although I put $6,000 in it per year, I did it for the last 20 years, which is $120,000. And that $120,000 actually grew to $270,000. And that $270,000 is all mine because it was after-tax money in an after-tax vehicle, which can't be taxed anymore. So that $270,000, I can count on all $270,000 of that in my portfolio. I had life insurance. I love that dog, man. He is a beautiful dog.
Hey, it's either the dog or my little man. Either one, man.
What's the dog's name?
Simba.
Simba, beautiful.
Yeah, he's a Pomsky Pomeranian Husky mix. This is my other son.
I grew up with Akitas, so I grew up with dogs that are big type of, you know what I mean, hairy wolf type dogs that'll tear you up if you give them a chance.
Right. I like Akitas. Yeah, those are clean.
But yeah. So like I said, man, just the whole life policies, they build another tax-free asset, which is why a lot of people like it, is because once again, if my $750 has been diminished to $500, but I had $270 in a Roth and another $250 in life insurance, that's now $520,000 or $620,000 that I have in a whole nother, or 520,000, I'm sorry, in a whole nother asset that I know is all mine. And
Right.
that's where sitting down and having these conversations really comes into play. And it really helps me navigate. Okay, the mortgage, we're going to protect that. That's a term. But we're going to protect our retirement assets as well. So we're going to put a whole life policy in place where it's going to build some cash. But all these step 1, 2, and 3 go hand in hand for us to actually figure it out, put something together for you to have an illustration in front of you that says, my $1 million term is $80 per month. That's less than my car insurance. That's going to cover. I'll break it down even further. I'll give you, you got a 10-year term. You got another 20-year term, because one of them covering your student debt that you're going to pay off in 10 years. The other one's covering the mortgage. So in 10 years, the student debt's paid off. That's going to drop off. No need to cover that anymore.
Right.
In 20 years, the mortgage is paid off. That's going to drop off. No need to cover that anymore. Mm-hmm. But we put a whole life policy in place as well, that in 20 years, when the term drops off, you no longer pay for your whole life, but you still have it for the rest of your life. It continues to grow cash for the rest of your life. And you can use that as what they call an asset buffer now, to where whenever you getting money from Social Security and 401k and they taking taxes out, you take money out your life insurance to pick back up those taxes that you just lost and make yourself whole again, a buffer asset. So that's step number 3. Now, step number 4 is, I tell everybody, ask questions throughout the whole process and compare policies. Even if you know you love me, because I'm going to go through it nice and thoroughly. Like my process, I'm going to go through it thoroughly. I'm really going to tell you about tax brackets, tax now, tax later, tax never. Which one you want to go in? Tax now, tax later, tax never. 99 out of 100.
Where's the Donald Trump bucket?
Tax never. I want that Donald Trump bucket, tax never.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so let me tell you the assets that go in each one. Tax now are things like real estate, a brokerage account. If you got your real estate, you sell the real estate, they're taxing you now. If you have stocks and bonds and you sell the stocks and bonds, they're taxing you right now. That's just period, point blank. Tax later are things like a traditional IRA, a 401k. You put the money away now, they don't tax you now, but when I take the money out later, they will definitely tax you. That's tax later. Mm-hmm. Things where they tax you never are things like Roth IRA, life insurance. It's simple. I'll simplify it. Now you know, if I do my real estate and my stocks and bonds, they're going to tax me now when I sell it.
Right.
If I do my traditional IRA and my 401k, they're going to tax me later when I take the money out and cash out. If I do my life insurance and my Roth IRA, they'll never tax me. If the money goes to my children or if I take the money out, they'll never tax me. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I know now, okay, let's start putting money in these different places.
Right.
But compare policies. And that's with anything, compare policies. I'm going to give you a quote. Call somewhere else and have them give you a quote. Ultimately, I tell people the relationship with your agent and knowing you can call your agent, that you understand your agent, that you got somebody to go to bat for you at all times. That's always beneficial. The history of the company. There's over 800 life insurance companies. Mm-hmm. About 50 of them have been around for 100 years or more. The other 750 of them, they've been around for 20, 30, 40 years. So not a lot of them have longevity. But the companies that have been around for 100 plus years, I like those companies because those companies have history of paying dividends. Right. Those companies have history of paying out on their life insurance policy and not doing stall tactics like a lot of these other companies. So do your due diligence, but whenever a company tells you it's $3 for $1 million policy, you should be wary of that. I mean, you're not getting $1 million policy for $3, but you look into it, do your comparisons, not just on cost, but the services that go into it, the longevity, the company ratings, things of that nature. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, that right there, I'm glad you spoke on that because, like you said, you can go with Joe Smo Insurance, say versus someone that's been around for 100 years and has gained some credibility and understanding that there could be a situation where you need to utilize that insurance and the company that you opted for is giving you dodging paying you off or giving you tactics, delay tactics. So that's really important. align yourself with somebody that you trust, somebody that's credible, and you do that in any investment. That's not just insurance. That's everything.
That's
That's one
everything.
of the things we talk about with real estate. It's about the relationship. It's about the person that you feel that you trust, and the person that you feel that's going to provide you with the value that you anticipate, that you feel that you need. So
Exactly.
anybody could sell a home or buy a home. They had people that sell their own homes, but it's the relationship. It's who you have working with you, who's providing you fiduciary responsibility, and who you trust, that's going to take care of your best interest.
Exactly. But yeah, those are all the preliminary steps to it. After that, it gets simple. And I'll go back through a rundown in a moment. After that, it gets simple. The application process, which it takes 20 minutes, but that's the hardest part to get somebody to. Getting somebody to sit down and tell them and have them identify that they know they need life insurance, that they know they've done a lack of financial planning, that they don't have any emergency funds, they don't have anything liquid, they don't have any savings, they haven't invested in 401k. After I've identified that and someone has told me now, I know what I need, I'm not gonna lie, the hardest part is getting somebody to then get out their own way and commit to filling out an application, because most people look at it as though it's an expense. And I tell people, you gotta ditch that. It's not an expense. You paying yourself.
Right.
That's once you flip the script and you like, damn, you mean to tell me I'm securing the bag not only for my future, but for my family's future as well. That's what insurance is really doing.
Not PG&E. It's not your water bill. It's not your, your garbage bill. Yeah, and that right there is golden. Because like you said, that goes back to mindset. It's like, no, this is not a bill. This is you're investing in yourself, in your future, in your family.
Yep.
You're creating a situation where you can grow some wealth. You can grow your money. If your money just sitting there stagnant in a bank account, it's actually depreciating. You're losing money. If your money's not working for you, you're losing money.
Exactly.
So this is an investment
here
strategy.
while everything else is going here, so it's depreciating, like you said.
Right. Exactly. So this is just a way to allow your money to grow and allow your money to work for you now and later, especially if you opt for, like Khalil said, the whole life insurance process.
Exactly.
Or being strategic about the terms, utilizing multiple terms as well. Yep. So getting clarity on where you are, what your big why is, and what you want to invest and protect.
Exactly.
That's essential. And this was because Khalil did mention this is 8 steps to this. So I believe we're on step 4.
We're on step 5 right now.
Step 5. You want to knock this one out or do a 2-part video, because we're coming up on the hour mark now. So do you want to do a 2-part?
I'll wrap it up. This is a good time. Okay. This is a good conversation. But like I told you, the last steps are easy. You got to fill out the application, that's the hardest step. Get out your way. Fill out the application. Takes 20, 30 minutes. What happens after that is you do a phone interview where the insurance company calls you and they confirm things that we just talked about and put it in the application. After that, you take your medical exam, because the one thing in your retirement strategy that's contingent upon your health and your age is life insurance. Benny will tell you, when he sells a home, he never asks nobody how healthy you are. I don't even think it's ethical for him to ask somebody how healthy they are, okay? Right. You can't do that. When you go for a job, they don't ask you how healthy you are. They don't feel, hey, by any chance you don't have HIV or cancer, do you? They can't do that type of stuff.
No,
you go get stocks and bonds. They don't. It's different criteria. Benny's concerned about what's your debt to income ratio, how much money you bringing in per month, how you paying your bills, what's that credit report looking like? Yeah, you can get a home. After that, we don't do age discrimination. We don't do any of that. If you're 60 years old, you want to buy a home, you got the credentials, we buying a home. If you're 22 years old, you want to buy a home, you got the credentials, we buying a home. That's how it works. Stocks and bonds, they don't ask you none of that. As long as you're over 18 and you got the money to buy this stock, it's okay. Life insurance is the only thing where they're going to ask you, hey, Benny, how healthy are you? Do you smoke? Do you take medications? How healthy are you? What's going on? What's your age? Because the older you are, it's going to cost. The more health risk you have, it's going to cost. So what they do is, with the medical exam, somebody's going to come out to you. They're going to take a cup of urine and a teaspoon of blood. The teaspoon of blood is to see what's in your blood. Is there high blood pressure? Is there high cholesterol? Is there cancer? What's going on here? check the urine and make sure, are there drugs? Is there tobacco? Is there CBD, THC, whatever? What's telling? They want to know the story. They get the
Right.
medical records. So that's the seventh component is you got to do the medical exam. And once again, when you kids, Benny and I, our children have insurance. Guess what? There is no medical exam. It's automatic issue with kids. I sign kids up on Monday. By Wednesday, their policy is ready to be printed because they got accepted already. They're kids. So the best time to get it for anybody, your family, get it when they children. It's automatic issue. Now, what happens is when they're 22 years old, they're going to still be paying the amount they were when they were kids because you locked the price in. So once again, you got to do the medical exam, but this is the only part of your thing that will be your retirement strategy that's based on health and age. And the last thing, you sit back and relax and you wait for me to do my magic and put everything through. So once again, just to wrap it up, B, the first thing you want to do is decide what type. Is a whole life or is it term? Depending on your budget, I'm going to set you up with both because they're both important. I'm going to get you a whole life because a whole life is going to protect if I keep coming home every single day for the next 60 years. I need some kind of asset that's going to help me fund that. Right. A whole life policy will do that. Term is if I don't make it home. And everybody's heard of probably Dave Ramsey say, buy term, invest the rest. I believe in that too if you know what you're doing. If you know what stocks and bonds to buy and how to do all of those different things and your job is not providing 401ks and all, yeah, buy term, invest the rest if you know what you're doing. Most people, however, keep it real. They don't know how to read a stock ticker sheet. They don't know the difference between buy at market value or letting it sit and buying at a certain price point or letting it drop and buying at certain price points. Most people don't know how to do these things. Most people don't invest in their 401k. Most people don't know shit about a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. Most people don't know about buying gold, silver, let alone cryptocurrency. Most people don't buy real estate, they rent for their whole lives. So if you one of the 90% of people who don't know how to get involved in a lot of these things, life insurance takes the guesswork out of it. Because at that point, not only are you getting life insurance, you're getting something that's going to give you some kind of return value on the cash that you put in there. It's not the end all be all. I'm not telling anybody put everything in life insurance. This is just a component of the bigger picture, and it should be part of it. Step two, calculate how much coverage you buy, do a cost analysis, a budget, all those different things. Debt income ratio, pick the length of your policy. That's going to go back to whole life or term. Compare life insurance quotes, ask questions throughout the process, fill out an application, do the phone interview, take the medical exam, sit back, wait for me to do my magic. So it's not that difficult, but it's something that you got to take the initial step.
Very nice. Very nice, man. You know, I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but you know, it is literally this simple. I mean, this was an hour. The meeting time with Khalil is probably be about an hour, and depending on your questions. You know, he is this thorough, even more so. We kind of got a little rush towards the end just because we want, like I said, we want to be respectful of everybody's time, the hour mark. But I mean, he doesn't make it. I mean, it's not rocket science. And you know, and investing in your future and understanding these strategies it shouldn't be rocket science. However, you should be diligent about finding out as much information and be responsible. You know, be accountable for your family, be accountable for your big why, be accountable to your goals. And so these are things that, you know, these are opportunities to where you can create wealth. These are foundational steps to creating wealth. You know, these are things that, you know, Khalil mentioned, you know, in several of our other videos about the Rockefellers, utilizing trust, utilizing insurance. So those are going to be some other topics that we're going to get to as well this year. The importance of trust and protecting your assets in trust. So we're going to have a lawyer on that's going to discuss those attributes. But reach out. Khalil always says, man, we're accessible. Reach out to us if you have any questions, if you want some follow-up questions, if you want to have this conversation about what it looks like for you and your family, reach out to Khalil Macklin, give him a call, give him a text message, DM us on Facebook or Instagram, or, you know, leave a question on YouTube. We will get back to you. You know, we check our responses, you know, so we'll make sure that we set up a time and kind of go over in depth of what this, what this benefit would look like for you and your family moving forward. So please, again, thank you again for joining us today on the Global Empowerment Team. Khalil dropped some boulders today, so take advantage of that. Reach out, have a thorough conversation again. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, thumbs up. Give some comments about what you want to see on us, on our future videos, what topics you want to see, who you think we should reach out to have as a guest appearance. But again, enjoy the rest of your week. Khalil, I'll let you close it out.
Man, I appreciate you for the opportunity to just talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. That's my passion, because throughout my time doing this, I've seen so many people unprepared for retirement, let alone death. You know what I mean? Retirement is before death for a lot of us. So just to have these conversations in your 20s and your 30s, I promise you, anybody who has conversations in their 20s, 30s, even your 40s with me, and takes advantage of that conversation, or with Benny, in your 60s, your 50s, you will come back to us and love us even more than you love us now, because of the growth that you will have doing the things that we're talking about doing. So please continue to tune in, continue to watch our show. If you know anybody who you think would be great for our show, let them know. We're trying to partner with other different platforms, between Earn Your Leisure to different types of investment shows and people that I watch, Chris Sane, stuff like that. See if we can get them on to educate our network and maybe bring some of our enthusiasm into their networks as well. But thank you all for tuning in. Happy Sunday, happy New Year, happy 2021. Let's make it a great one. And Simba, man, you got beautiful eyes, Simba. Take care of your daddy and your family over there, man. Empowerment Team,